After 3 decades on the bench, I thought I had seen everything. Every lie, every excuse, every version of desperation a human being could wear. I believed I understood people, especially when they were pushed to their limits, when they were hungry, when they were alone, when they had nothing left. That's when you see who someone really is. Or at least, that's what I thought. Because one freezing morning, a child walked into my courtroom and proved me wrong in a way I will never forget. He didn't come in with a lawyer. He didn't come in with a parent. He walked in with a police officer, wearing a jacket far too big for his small frame, shoes barely holding together with strips of gray duct tape, and eyes that had already seen too much of the world. He couldn't have been more than 10 years old. And in his hands, he was holding $10,000 in cash. Now let me ask you something, and I want you to be honest with yourself. If you hadn't eaten in days, if you were sleeping on concrete, if the cold felt like it was cutting through your bones, and you suddenly found $10,000 lying on the ground, what would you do? Would you turn it in? Or would you survive? Because what this boy chose to do, and what happened after, didn't just shock my courtroom. It changed the way I see humanity forever. And before this story ends, you'll understand exactly WHY.IT was a bitter Tuesday morning in November. The kind of cold that doesn't just sit on your skin, it gets inside you. Makes everything feel heavier, slower, colder than it should be. My courtroom was full that day. Routine cases, property disputes, minor violations, nothing unusual, until the doors opened. And that boy walked in. His name was Leo. Small, thin, shoulders shaking slightly under that oversized jacket. His fingers red from the cold, gripping something tightly. A leather wallet. Not just any wallet. A designer one, thick, expensive, the kind you don't lose unless something has gone very wrong. Inside it, $10,000 in crisp $100 bills. Not a single one missing. He had been sleeping in a subway station for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. And yet somehow, he hadn't spent $1. Not even for food. Not even for warmth. Officer Miller, a man I had trusted for years, stood beside him and explained everything. They found the boy sitting under a streetlight in the freezing rain. Just sitting there. Waiting for a police car to pass by so he could hand the wallet over. He didn't run. He didn't hide. He didn't even hesitate. He waited. Now, while I was processing all of that, I noticed someone else in the courtroom. The owner of the wallet. A man named Richard Sterling. Expensive suit. Perfect posture. Phone in hand. The kind of man who walks like the world already belongs to him. He barely looked at the boy. Didn't acknowledge him. Didn't ask a single question. He just stepped forward, grabbed the wallet, and started counting the money. Right there in my courtroom. Slowly, carefully, licking his thumb, flipping through each bill like he expected something to be missing. Like he expected that child to have stolen from him. The room went silent. I didn't interrupt. After 30 years, I've learned something important. Silence can be louder than words. So I let him count. Every last bill. And when he finished, he snapped the wallet shut and said, "It's all here." No relief. No gratitude. Just mild disappointment. Like he was hoping for a problem. I leaned forward, looked him directly in the eyes, and said, a 10-year-old boy with no home, no food, and nowhere to go, found your wallet and stood in the freezing cold to return it. I paused. Do you have anything you'd like to say to him? The entire courtroom waited. And what happened next? I will never forget. Sterling reached into his wallet, pulled out a single $20 bill, and tossed it onto the table. Not handed. Not offered. Tossed. Here, he said coldly. Go get yourself something to eat. Then he added, and you're lucky I'm busy, or I'd have them search you. A collective gasp filled the room. Even my clerk, who had seen everything, dropped her pen. But the boy? He didn't move. Didn't touch the money. Didn't even look at it. He just stood there. Cold. Hungry. Shaking. But proud. Eyes steady. That's when I realized something. That child had more dignity than the man worth millions standing in front of him. I brought my gavel down. Hard. "Mr. Sterling," I said quietly, "pick up your $20. He froze. Now, he picked it up. "And sit down." He tried to protest. But one look at my face, and he didn't. He sat, silently, for the first time. Then I turned to Leo, softened my voice. "Come here, son." He stepped forward slowly, holding that oversized jacket close. And I asked him the question that had been on my mind since he walked in. "Why didn't you keep it?" I leaned closer. "Nobody would have known. You could have eaten, found a place to stay, bought anything you needed. Why give it back?" He didn't hesitate, not even for a second. He looked up at me and said something that hit harder than anything I had heard in years. "My mom told me something before she died." The room went completely still. She said, "We might not always have food or a place to sleep." His voice trembled. But he didn't stop. "But we always have our name. And if you take something that isn't yours, you lose the only thing that truly belongs to you." I had to pause. I couldn't speak. 30 years on that bench, and that moment, broke through everything. I looked at him, really looked at him, and all I could see was strength. Not weakness. Not poverty. Strength. But the story didn't end there. Because just as the courtroom was absorbing what that child had said, Officer Miller stepped forward again. He handed me a small evidence bag. Inside it was something Sterling clearly didn't expect anyone to see: a USB drive and a folded document. I glanced at Sterling, and for the first time, he looked afraid. Not annoyed. Not arrogant. Afraid. Real fear. The kind you can't fake. I opened the paper, started reading, and within seconds, the entire room changed. It wasn't just numbers. It was a ledger. Names. Payments. Bribes. Millions of dollars hidden behind fake companies and illegal deals. City officials. Inspectors. Approvals bought. Safety ignored. Lives risked. All of it written down. Carefully. Clearly. And suddenly, that wallet wasn't just lost property. It was evidence. Sterling stood up, panicking. "That was stolen," he shouted. "That boy took it. He tampered with it." I looked at him calmly. "You just said everything was there." He froze. No answer. No defense. Just silence. Within minutes, an investigator entered the courtroom. They had been building a case for over a year, but they never had proof. Until now. Until a homeless child, with nothing, chose honesty. Handcuffs clicked around Sterling's wrists. Right there. In the same room. Where he had thrown $20 like it meant nothing. And as he was led away, the wallet sat on the table. Forgotten. Useless. Because in the end, it wasn't the money that mattered. It never was. I stepped down from the bench. Walked over to Leo. Knelt in front of him. "You did something today," I told him, "that most people never do in their entire lives. You chose right, when it would have been easier not to." He didn't say anything, just nodded. Still shaking, still cold, but no longer alone. Because something changed in that courtroom. People stood up, one by one. A lawyer placed money on the table, then another. Then someone else offered gloves, a jacket, food, help. It spread, like a ripple, all because one child chose integrity. A year passed. The case closed. The corruption exposed. Millions recovered. Sterling? In prison. But Leo? Leo walked back into my courtroom one more time. Different. Stronger. Smiling. Not alone. Officer Miller stood beside him. With his wife. They had adopted him. Given him a home. A future. A life. Leo handed me a small note. Handwritten. Careful letters. "Thank you for believing me. My mom would be proud." I kept that note. Right on my desk. Next to a photo of my grandfather. To remind me, and everyone who walks into that courtroom, of something we often forget. Money can buy comfort. Power. Influence. But it cannot buy character. That you either have, or you don't. So if you ever find yourself standing at a crossroads between doing what's easy and doing what's right, ask yourself one question. Who do you want to be remembered as? The man with the wallet? or the boy who returned it.